Mark Jamison. Mark, he's a retired U.S. Postal Service postmaster, and he's also a contributor to the blog Save the Post Office. You know, Mark, before we even get into elections, let's just talk about why everybody, I don't care who they vote for, what party they affiliate, should care, in that you got seniors that rely on the Postal Service to get their Social Security checks. You got vets who rely on the Postal Service to get their medications. This isn't just about what happens in November, correct?
No, we've been writing about this for years. The Postal Service is an essential national infrastructure, and it serves every American. It goes to about 160 million addresses every day. This has been going on for 50 years. We need to get it right.
And by the way, it's one of the few things most of us in this country can still agree on nowadays, is that it's got a favorable opinion rating because people, for the reasons you just said, rely on it. Okay. Now, you've been at this for a lot longer than me. And while certainly there's always been politics involved with every agency, even something like a post office, you've never seen any leadership go out of their way to actually not speed up mail going out, but to try and slow it down. Is what you're seeing now something unrecognizable to you?
Pretty much so. During my 30 years in the post office, it was well known that senior management leaned Republican, but election mail was sacrosanct. It moved. I don't care what class it was entered in, whether it was postage due. You got it to its destination. You cleared the plant. You cleared the carrier case. You got the mail out. They're saying they're not going to do that.
How much of a cluster, you know what, could we be looking at, Mark? And give an idea how this could play out, because now you got nearly 3/4 of the possible registered voters that could vote by mail, more so than any time in the past. Yet you have, either through extortion, through sabotage, an intent here from the president and seemingly the Postmaster General to try to gum up the works. How bad could it be, and what would it look like?
Well, basic delivery standards for first-class mail are 95%, and it runs anywhere from 1 to 3 days. If 5% of the ballots don't get counted, that's a big deal. There's a 2018 study by the Office of Inspector General that looked at how well they handled election mail. It found that on average about 95.6%, which was pretty good, but some districts were down in the 70%. What you're also seeing now is, for instance, a letter went out under the General Counsel's name to some states saying, don't count on us.
And we heard some frightening news out of Pennsylvania. What can you tell us about Louis DeJoy? And from what you understand, what's his agenda here, given what the mission statement should be as Postmaster General versus what at least he said and done?
Well, first of all, let's understand that Mr. DeJoy is the executioner. He is doing what he's been told to do. If you look at the president's task force that had Mick Mulvaney and Mnuchin and the others, it's a wish list for destroying the post office. And DeJoy is actually executing some of these things. The thing you've just read about with them taking equipment out of service. People are still looking at this, but he seems to have some serious investments in the $30 million range in businesses that do business and have contracts with the Postal Service.
To me, Mark, sometimes you always expect you got to really dig, and then all of a sudden you find out, oh my God, look at what somebody's doing. This is happening right out in the open. And sure, I hear from guys like you and some lawmakers on the Hill talking outrage, but you're talking about subverting a free and a fair election in broad daylight. Are you a little shocked that some more members from the president's own party aren't saying, wait a minute, we're not a banana republic, what's going on here?
He's saying the quiet parts out loud. Republicans have been saying the same thing for a number of years. At some point, the Republican Party stopped being a party of governance and became a party of just trying to hang on to power. Trump is the logical conclusion of what's happened in the Republican Party over the last 20 years. I'm a little surprised that at least some Republicans aren't speaking up a little bit louder about this, but this is not acceptable. This is immoral. It's wrong. And it's happening right in front of our eyes.
And it should be noted, we've done this now. 5 states have been doing this for a long time. This is not a new rodeo that we've got to figure out, albeit in a much bigger bucket of people that would participate. Finally, let's be optimistic, Mark, and say people find religion and they want to do the right thing. Time is running out. What has to happen immediately with the election just 80 some odd days from now so this doesn't turn into the disaster a lot of people like yourself are forecasting?
Well, one of the most important things is in the HEROES Act, the stimulus bill the Democrats passed out of the House in May. They have $3.5 billion allocated to go to the states to help them bulk up and get ready to handle more election mail. That's critical if you actually want to make that work. Because part of the problem here is slow counting of ballots. And we don't want Trump on election night to declare victory because we still have half the ballots to be counted because they came in by mail, and that might take a day or two. The states could, if they have the money, could conceivably do that faster. Other than that, people are going to have to seriously think about finding ways to make sure you return your ballot directly to your local board of election. I hate to say it, it's not safe for me because I'm on medicine that I shouldn't be out in public. I'm going to vote in person. This is a bad situation.
And the guy like you would have to make that choice, Mark, and my mother's in the same boat, said the same thing. People to have to actually risk health to have a protected constitutional right is an amazing thing, but that's where we are in 2020. Mark Jamison, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.